Monkey Kung Fu, not to be confused with the superior Mad Monkey Kung Fu, is a 1979 Shaw Brothers flick directed by John Lomar and is essentially a retread to Lomar's earlier film, Five Super Fighters, as it contains many of the same elements. And we'll address that later. But before we go any further, take a look at our merch store. We have some of the sweetest martial arts tees on the market, including our newest icon t-shirts from Snake and the Eagle Shadow, Way of the Dragon, and Dance of the Drunk Menace. Purchase now and use the promo code Kung Fu, that's KUNGFU, one word, at checkout for $5 off. Thanks for supporting the channel, and now back to the review. Our movie starts with Wei Chung, played by Tony Chin Soo Tung, a 20-year-old who has been arrested for killing someone and has been sentenced to 3.5 years hard labor. The movie wastes no time by placing Wei in a cell with a one-eyed cellmate who's been sentenced to death and happens to be highly skilled at Kung Fu. The two initially spar a couple of times over things such as seating arrangements during dinner and who is sleeping where. Apparently, the old man sees something in his young cellmate and decides to impart on him a gift before his sentence is carried out, one half of a medallion. The old man tells Wei Chung to seek out the other half of the medallion, which seems impossible until a new inmate shows up just as the old man is being executed. Wei Chung is chained at the leg to his new cellmate, Zhao, played by Hao Chu Sing, while they're out in the field breaking rocks. Wei Chung gets into a beef with a couple of guards, and Zhao intervenes just as the guns come out. The two escape, and just like an 80s buddy cop movie, the two are on the run. The duo first need to get their shackles removed, after which they can go on their separate ways, if they don't kill each other first. Wei and Zhao happen upon a blacksmith and convince him to help get their chains off. Meanwhile, Tung, played by Kwang Feng, and his group of baddies show up at the prison looking for the medallion pieces. A guard recalls seeing a piece on Wei Chung and informs the group that he has escaped, so they get on the trail and head after them. Now that they are free, Wei and Zhao are Splitsville, and there is a short segment establishing Wei as a decent fighter who defends a shop owner who is being bullied. This unnecessary fight scene serves as a filler so that the bad guys can catch up to him, which they do. Tung's men demand Wei's half of the medallion and a fight ensues. Wei is getting his butt whooped when Zhao shows up to save the day. Zhao, also a mid-fighter, intervenes long enough for Wei to take off on him, leaving him behind. Zhao catches up to an ungrateful Wei Chung, but he is told to buzz off. When next we see Wei Chung, he's at a brothel looking for a little something inside, while the bad guys are looking for him outside. When he finishes his business, the sex worker asks for payment, which he's reluctant to give. A sweet fight breaks out between Wei and the female worker that really allows her to demonstrate her flexibility, but if I'm being honest, seems unnecessary. After Wei is defeated and forced to pay his bill, he leaves the brothel only to be confronted by Feng and his henchmen. They begin to beat up on our young protagonist again, and if you think that Zhao would come to his rescue again after being shunned, you would be correct. Zhao springs into action and more fighting occurs. The two manage to escape and make their way into a field where they capture one of Feng's men who explains why they're being so heavily pursued. In a cool flashback scene, the thug reveals that years before, Feng's father and the old man from the beginning of the film had a duel to be clan leader. The battle ended with the old man losing his eye and Feng's father dead. The thug also discloses that Feng not only wants to eliminate any remnants of the old man's clan, but he also wants the secret training manual belonging to the old man. Zhao releases the thug and reveals that he has the other half of the medallion. When the two halves of the medallion are put together, they reveal a map that leads our heroic duo on a quest to find the treasure. A long and difficult journey lead Wei and Zhao to a cave where they eventually find the secret manual of the monkey style. The two begin to self-train in the monkey style, with Wei learning a straight-lace monkey technique that will seem very familiar, while Zhao focuses his training on a cross-pollination of monkey style with drunken fist. The results are two competent fighters who eventually must face their pursuers in an ultimate showdown. Monkey Kung Fu is a movie that entertains but underwhelms. Unfortunately, it bears the weight of being released in the same year as Mad Monkey Kung Fu, which is a far better film, and you can't help but make comparisons. For some reason, the two leads in Monkey Kung Fu don't exude monkey in the same way that Xiao Ho and Lar Kar Lung do in their film. In other words, they're not simian enough for my taste. The story is essentially a quest film with no true payoff in the end. The martial arts choreography is good, but flat when compared to Mad. But I did enjoy the blacksmith's fight as well as the one in the brothel. Kwang Fung's villain is incredibly bland and shows up from time to time in search of a MacGuffin. My major gripe with this movie is that director Lo Ma shoehorned fights into the film, such as the one with Wei Chung at the Kung Fu school, rather than develop the characters and the story a little better. Ultimately, this movie should have been released a year before and set up as a prequel to Mad Monkey Kung Fu. Overall, I think that Monkey Kung Fu, aka Stroke of Death, is a decent film with adequate martial arts fights and a weak story. Worth a watch, but overall, unremarkable. 6 kicks is what I'll give this one. Well, that's all for now. Tell us how you feel about Monkey Kung Fu. Comment below and let us know. And please, hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more great content. Please! On behalf of myself and DK the Cub, this is OG Ant the Lone Wolf, wishing you all good tidings. Peace, fam. Out.